So I feel Volkswagen doesn't get enough credit. There's so much hate around Volkswagen, but there is a few things that Volkswagen has done right, in my opinion. And first, I want to start with the gauge cluster, because it's just basic and simple, but do you really need 40 gauges up there to tell you what's going on? Unless it's like boost or something. Just, you have everything you need right there, and you have a screen in the middle. Now this is 12 years old, so that's just something to keep in mind. Another thing I really feel like done right is their automatic transmissions, because based on my research, they mixed a manual with an automatic, and you have your DSGs, and I feel like that is one thing they did really great. Because that's why these cars are so fun to drive, even though some argue manuals are more fun. Never drove in a manual. I want to, though, so we'll see. Another thing I feel like Volkswagen did right was their headlight switches, because there's so many options for these. So if you really do decide to go with the fog lights, or if you decide that you want automatic or anything like that, Volkswagen provides. Another thing, this is a little bit of a con, is their cruise control. I've never ever used a Volkswagen cruise control, but they're just, I agree with what a lot of people say, they're just chintzy plastic, not really that interesting. Another thing Volkswagen did right was they're just styling on these door panels, and just the car in general, but the door panels especially. It's just really sharp design, and it really makes you feel like you're in the driver's seat with the angled dash, gauges in front of you, sharp design on the side. It really adds to the whole I own a Volkswagen feel. And I don't know many other cars that do that. It kind of gives me like the cockpit vibe. Like a sports car, you have angled over here, angled dash here, really cozy knob. These are solid. No push button from the side or from the top, just straight cozy where your hand feels good. You have your drift stick right here, super cozy. Seats, I will give credit for. They are super nice. I've been a huge fan of Volkswagen seats for a long time. Even though it's fake leather, it still feels amazing. Another thing Volkswagen did right was those Euro pedals. Euro pedals, I'm still getting adjusted to learning to them, but they're just amazing. And I feel like that's really a signature of this car, is the Euro pedals. And just the styling. And then let's mention the options. Volkswagen is not afraid to give options at cost. This is really important, because somebody who wants a $20,000 car can get a $20,000 car, which is pretty much what this is. There's no features to it. It's basic. The radio I had to put in myself. It's basic, no sunroof, no nothing. And I'm sure this was one of the cheaper variants. Now, if you want something more above and beyond, we have the GLI and the GTIs. And if you want, like a sunroof, boom, offered, you got it. You want dual climate control, you want electronic climate control, boom, you got it. It's like all of this stuff Volkswagen just does not hesitate to put out, of course, for the cost. And yeah, so I think we also can't forget about suspension and performance. I think that's a huge factor of these Jettas, is because they're so much fun to drive, and the suspension just eats everything on the road just fine. Even in SUVs, I compare it to an SUV feel, because I just got all new suspension on this Jetta, so except for the struts, I'm saving up to replace those. It just feels like all the bumps, you really don't feel it in these Jettas. Now, my last Jetta I did, but that was the Mark V generation. I'm going to throw some heat the Mark V's way. But that's just another thing to keep in mind, is Volkswagen is very much so known for their suspension. Now, I know the suspension changes based on whether you're in Europe or in the Americas, because in the Americas, we use, I believe it's a torsion beam, while over in Europe, they use, I forget what it's called. I believe it's independent. I could be wrong. I believe it's independent suspension. But I haven't done my research on Europe suspension. I just remember seeing it once. So that's something to keep in mind whether you're in the Europes or the USA, of what really you're getting into with these. Last thing we got going here. I got newly inspected. And look at this. Didn't even put up my sticker right. Come on, man. There's your blooper, guys. There's your blooper.